I'm going to talk to you about the fire hose. So, I'm probably not going to solve this problem for you, the famous Atlassian fire hose problem. I have solved it for myself. So this is kind of like self-congratulatory. Let's have a look. So how many people were not here last year? So not just designers. If you weren't with Atlassian, that's amazingly like a lot of people. Keep your hands raised if you've struggled with this problem during that time. Okay. Oh, sorry, the problem of keeping pace with the fire hose. Thank you. All right, cool. If you did not raise your hand then please remember who you are, because at the end I'm going to ask a favor of you guys. If you've already solved this problem, that's great. So it's probably not... Actually, one more thing. How many of you people that raised your hands are also managing people? Yeah, cool. So that is like the real sweet spot for this. Like, you're my people. This solves your problem, which is keeping on top of other people as well as trying to figure out what the hell is going on yourself. So we publish currently 800 blog posts a month as a company. That's quite a lot of blog posts. And we add 2,000 comments every day. And a comment to us is pretty important. Like, a comment might have something that you really, really need to get done. It might have an action. It's really hard to stay on top of all of that stuff in all of the places where you work. That's how many active users there are in Extranet in a month. I don't know how that's possible. I think that's more than people in the company, but I'm not sure. So help is on hand. In just 5 minutes a day, you can stay on top of everything you need to know personally and whatever your team members and reports are doing. That's the promise. Let's see how. There are two things that you need. One, RSS. So RSS is what Confluence gives us, so I'm suggesting that we use it. Forget everything that Dom told you. RSS is the thing that you need. This is a real hack in the manner of progress over perfection. So the first thing you will do is you will go to the question mark, which is like over on that side. So you've got your avatar, you've got the workbox, and then for the super curious user, there is a question mark, which is kind of a lucky dip, and in there you will find Feed Builder. And in Feed Builder, you can go and make a feed of all blogs. So ignore pages, just go for blogs, tailor that feed to whatever you want it to be. The second thing you will do is a virtual culling. So you'll go and figure out who you need to work with and go and follow those people on EX. So this feels a bit creepy, right? Like, I don't know how many people currently do this thing, but I find it really useful, and I keep this really, really tailored to what I'm working on. I'll probably update this every couple of weeks. This is my desktop. So this is kind of confronting. I had no idea the screen was going to be this big. That's not a great track to have on Spotify. It's just a random piece of music. So this is a demo. I'm going to talk you through what I do every morning with those two things. And literally it takes like 2 minutes, and I stay on top of everything that way. So I'm going to try and remember. This looks a lot like a guy checking his email, but it isn't. It's Vienna, which is an RSS reader. I will nip through, sort everything by date, sort everything by author, see if there's somebody I know that's written something, check their titles, and see if there's some... This is a guy checking his email, but I just wanted to show that you can put your blog posts through there, and that's better than using filters in Gmail. You just put that blog feed in your inbox, if that's how you prefer to get your information. The second thing, and this is where the money is that network feed. So now I will go and sort by author, and I'll see everything that everyone has worked on since I last checked. So I can, if you're in my team, I can check on like what kind of pages you've been working on. I might be able to help you there. I can go and have a look at anything from leadership. So keeping the network really, really tight is important. And then going and checking what everyone's been doing since I last caught up is really important. So there's Leo. I'll go and read about why expand. What else? MC, I should go see what MC's doing. She's written a blog on growth DNA for design. And Mary's just like done a ton of shit here, so I'll go and have a look at what she's up to. And then I can also check in this preview box really, really quickly if it's important or not. And a lot of this is just kind of like PNGs and little comments here and there, so I can kind of disregard some of that. What else have we got? So this is like 9:23. I'll do this for a few minutes in the morning and just get on top of things that way. And who else? Sean. Okay, so Sean, I don't get a lot of FaceTime with Sean. I should really figure out what he does every day. I'll go and read about Atlassian Mallincost. So that is kind of it, just a lightning demo. That's me in the morning, that's what I do. I scan quickly and kind of choose replies, see what I need to jump onto Safari with or Chrome and just make some replies that way. I can sense check, so as a manager, it's really important for me to know what my people are doing and if they're in danger of missing OKRs or working on things that they really shouldn't or anywhere I can help. And I can follow up, so just that little title view, I can see, I can have enough context there to go into a one-on-one and probe with people and see if there's anything that I can help with. That's where you can find Vienna and the feeds. And yeah, if you're one of those people at the start who's got a better way, please comment on that page. Cool, thanks.
Hi, so my name is Keith Robinson. I work on software teams on Bitbucket. And I'm going to talk to you guys about deep work, which is a concept that's somewhat new to me. I actually have quite a bit of experience with productivity and productivity tools. I used to be an associate editor for Lifehacker covering that kind of stuff back in another life. So it's just a quote from Winifred Gallagher, who wrote a book called Wrapped, which is all about having focus in what you do and being present in your work. And it's a really good way to work. I've been doing this for a little while. I'm going to walk through some of the rituals that I have and some tips and tricks. It's one of the most effective productivity things that I've tried in my life. I'm still experimenting with it, so your mileage may vary on some of this stuff. So what is deep work? It's a term, I think, that was coined by Cal Newport, who wrote a book called Deep Work. And essentially, it's the ability to focus without distraction on difficult tasks that require a lot of thinking. So it's not things like managing your email or going to meetings. It's things like preparing for a talk or writing a blog post or coding or doing design work in Sketch, that kind of thing. Obviously, this will apply to some of you more than others. For example, if you're a manager and you're in meetings a lot, it might be a little bit hard to apply some of these principles. It's also worth noting that it's difficult. It's actually a lot harder than it sounds. It's not something that you could just easily fall into and be able to have really productive deep work sessions. It takes practice. It's something that you can work on over time and get better at. And our environments are also very hard. A lot of us are in open offices. A lot of us have HipChat. We try to multitask. That kind of stuff is the enemy of deep work. You need to do this well, you need to not have that stuff. So I'm going to talk you through a little bit of the how-tos around deep work. The first thing to note is there's a lot of different ways that you can do this. There's people who have this into their regular schedule. They have 5-6 hours of deep work every day, like novelists, for example. There's people who go away, second themselves out into the woods. What I'm doing is kind of like what they call a journalistic and / a rhythmic approach, where I block out big chunks of my calendar. This is my actual calendar. And I try to protect these spots as much as I can. The nice thing is we have on Bitbucket, we have a Get Shit Done day, so that was already kind of there. I just started doing this. It's working pretty well. So that's step one, schedule time for it as much as you can. And then also maybe look for opportunities in your calendar. So I have rituals for when I use these blocks of time. I never try to do more than 2 hours at a time. I find that it's hard. And I don't try to do more than 4 hours a day, unless I'm feeling really awesome. So one of the things I do is I do like a little ritual. I do a little meditation sometimes. I kind of do like a boot up sequence. I turn off everything, HipChat, phone notifications, turn it all off. Ideally, I would put myself in a different room where nobody can bother me. I use a tool called Brain FM, which is a rhythmic, repeated ambient music app that you can get online. It works really well. There's a lot of studies around this, and I'm not going to talk about because I don't have time. And then when I'm done, I also ease myself out of these rituals. So I kind of do a little you're done with work, time to do something else. So iteration, it's hard. I find myself very often wanting to be distracted in the middle of these sessions. So I practice stuff outside of the deep work sessions. And I'm going to tell you a couple things about that before I'm done. Okay, so one of the things is getting used to focus, basically training your brain to be in these modes where you're intently focusing on something. It's a lot harder than it sounds. Also, just getting used to solitude. I mean, we're in offices, at least I am, where people are talking all the time, so it's sometimes weird to go off into a room, or some people stare at a blank wall when they do this. I don't know. I've never tried that, but it's actually off-putting when you're at least for me it is. Autopilot is your enemy. tried to be present when you're doing this. This is something that I did. I ignored social media for 30 days, and I've actually pretty much quit Facebook and Twitter at this point. I just don't. This is something you should try. I feel like everybody should try it, see if it works for you. It worked for me. Big part of that is like, say no to the scroll. Like, just try to train your brain not to go for these quick fixes of like waiting in line, watching TV. Like, if you're watching TV and playing around with your phone, you're probably not watching a show that's worth watching, in my opinion. Get into meditation. This kind of stuff's very similar. It helps. It's kind of a similar type of situation. You want to get into this like zone. So that's a good thing to experiment with. And practice saying no. Be a little bit hard to get a hold of. Clear some time in your calendar, and just tell people no when you can. And leave your work at work. That's something that I didn't used to do until recently, and I do it a lot now, and I like it. Also, don't forget to be awesome. Thanks.
Hi, I'm Sabrina Wingfield. Oops, let me go to my slide. Nope, I went too far. Sorry, I'm getting used to this system. Okay, I'm Sabrina Wingfield, and I'm a writer for HipChat, and today I want to share a little bit about my yogic journey. Okay, so I started out doing yoga about 10 years ago, and I started by doing a yoga boot camp class, which was super athletic, and guess what? I was not athletic. But I fell in love with it. After about 6 months, I got injured, and I thought I wasn't going to be able to do yoga at all anymore until a teacher gave me a practice that was specifically designed for me. What I noticed was that the way she taught me that practice, the way she designed that practice, was similar to the way I design content for products. So I'm going to talk about the similarities. First of all, you want to make it meaningful. Know your audience's culture and their beliefs. This is where you're going to set the context and the voice that resonates with them. For example, in yoga, we use the word surrender a lot. My teacher switched it up a bit when teaching someone in the military, and she used dedication to the mission. Similarly, in content, I would use different words if my audience was in the military versus, say, teachers. Next, make it practical. Know their goals. Do they want to reduce stress in yoga, fix aches and pains, or maybe even achieve an advanced pose? Choose the practice that's going to serve their goals. In design, when I'm designing content, I think about, are they here to learn, or are they here to get a quick answer to a question? That determines whether I'm creating a tutorial or a help topic or even a knowledge-based article. In yoga, your practice changes as you age. Children need to build strength and focus. Adults usually need to maintain it. And similarly, if I'm creating content for teenagers, it's going to look and sound different than content for adults. Know their job. If they're a desk worker, they're going to need more movement in their yoga practice than if they're, say, a gardener. Similarly, a system admin requires very different content than people in finance. Where are they doing their yoga practice? If it's at a desk, they can do chair yoga. If it's outdoors, they can do a more active practice. Similarly, when I'm thinking about content, I'm asking myself, where are they reading or consuming this content? If they're in the app, I'm going to give them in-app content. If they're outside the app, maybe they haven't downloaded it, I need to provide app on a website or somewhere else. How much time do they have to do a yoga practice? 2 hours, 15 minutes? Give them the right amount so that they can be successful. How much time does someone have to actually read my content? If they're in a hurry, I need to give them one simple message with a key piece of information that they need. In the morning, your yoga practice is going to look different than in the evening. In the morning, you'll focus on building energy, and in the evening, you'll focus on calming down so you can sleep. Similarly, Google sends me different content in the morning than in the evening. In the morning, it tells me how long my commute is going to be. In the evening, it sends me tomorrow's weather report. So these are the techniques that my teacher used to empower me when I thought I couldn't continue in yoga. Instead of quitting, I became a yoga teacher. When we adapt to the individual, we empower them to achieve their goals and possibly go further than they imagined. Thank you, and namaste.
So I wanted to know, Nick, what do you do with HipChat in that daily routine of yours, or is it just EAC?
Is my mic on? Can you hear me? Can you hear me now? Oh, yeah, cool. I've got a lapel. Thanks. Yeah, no, I do. So the other guys that work around me always comment on like how clean my HipChat is, because I literally have one chat open at a time. So I don't have a long list of names. Because otherwise it just becomes like another inbox that I'm constantly checking. In fact, it's like the craziest of inboxes. So I just try and like concentrate on the conversation I'm having, and then I keep rooms really, really collapsed down. I don't hang around in rooms. I'll get the at all or get invited and chat that way.
For Nick, can you talk about one situation where your workflow, you missed out on something, and then how you adapted that maybe to not miss out in the future?
Yep, so I missed out last week on, there was somebody in the building that was, I think we had some photographs done last week for security passes, and then they hung around in the same space a week after, and you can go and get like a full portrait done. And I was working with Jet at Ship It, and she was like, oh, I just had my portrait done. And I'd missed it, and I was really gutted. And then I thought, well, you know, that's probably just a bit of FOMO, and did I really miss out on something that I wanted? And I'm sort of yet to find the thing where I've missed it. Like, I spent so much time working with those people in that network that I'm yet to find the thing that's really hurt me, or like, you know, maybe, I think there was a speaking opportunity or a conference. Sometimes I rely on people telling me stuff as well, like Patrick and Nat and my team will tell me things and alert me to stuff. So you need that human interaction to be solid as well.
My question is for Keith, and it's actually similar. My biggest issue is saying no. I definitely need flow. I'm always trying to hit flow and have deep work, but the saying no, I really struggle with. I know you couldn't go into it a lot because of the lightning talk, but.
Yeah, my answer is very similar to Nick's. There are some things that I have missed out on because I also go into a mode where I turn everything off, and I've been late to some meetings because of that, because sometimes you just get going. I try to use timers, but sometimes. But yeah, it's kind of a thing that I've had to practice. Like, I've had to work on it, and like I have to think really hard about what the value is of what I'm saying yes to, and what is the opportunity cost or the cost in focus that I might be losing. So far, so good. I mean, I do think there's been a couple times when I've had to sort of explain why I said no and kind of like have a weird conversation, but for the most part, it's just me feeling uncomfortable and maybe a little bit of that like FOMO, am I missing out on something? And so far, nothing's really been that big of a deal. So.
Hey, Keith again. I was wondering about how deep work may or may not work in like a collaborative session. So, you know, sometimes you can do stuff yourself. Other times you need other designers to give you feedback. How do those two systems kind of play?
So the answer to that question is I don't know, but I've thought about it. I've thought about it. We do so much collaborative work that I feel like you could apply some of the same principles, like, hey, we're in this room together, we're gonna say we're gonna be doing a lot of whiteboarding and collaborating, we're not gonna have our phones on, we're not gonna do that, we're gonna take a break in 2 hours, and that's when you can go like answer your email. I feel like you'd probably get some of the same benefits and focus and an ability to be productive, but honestly, I haven't tried that yet, so I don't know. So maybe you can try it and let me know how it works.
This is also, hello, also for you, Keith. I'm just going to keep you up there the whole time. No, I was curious how flexible you are with your focus hours in terms of to piggyback on both of those points of collaborating with other people and their flexibility in time.
So far, I think I've been fairly lucky in that I haven't had a whole lot of problems protecting those hours. I'll sort of like piggyback on something Liam told me with our getting things done, getting shit done day. Like, he is flexible for certain types of things, like if it's an interview or something that couldn't be moved to another time. And that's sort of what I would like to do. Like, if you really need me, like if it's a meeting with Sydney, for example, and it's like, no, there is no other time, well, of course, I'm going to be flexible for that. And I feel like it's going to get harder now that daylight savings time is coming around. But otherwise, I've been people have been okay with me just moving some things around and like, hey, can I move this out of this time or to an hour earlier, because I really want to have that time to. So I guess it sort of depends. I'm flexible, but I'm not that flexible, if that makes sense.
I have a question for Sabrina. I liked your comment about the time of day, and it reminded me of Amantha's mention this morning about how the decisions you make change as the day goes on. I'm wondering, as a writer for HipChat, if you could, what kind of messaging or information would you provide early in the day versus later in the day?
There. That would be a good thing to brainstorm on, and I actually thought about that earlier today when she was saying time of day. And let me think, like, at the beginning of the day, you want to know what happened the night before if other people are in another time zone. So, give me a wrap up of what happened last night in Sydney, something like that. That's the thing that comes to the top of my head, but I bet there's a whole lot more to do.
Mine's for Sabrina as well. Sorry. So the principles you have for yoga, is there a particular process you follow to apply those to word design, or does it happen all at once, or how do you go about doing that?
You mean the process of writing? Yeah. Usually I'll have different parts of it in my head while I'm writing or while I'm planning to write, but generally I'll ask myself, the demographic questions like the age and the job. I have that up front before I start to write. And then I start thinking about, or working, a lot of it is working with the designers too and understanding the use cases and the researchers and knowing what situation are people in when they're using the product and when I'm giving them this messaging. And that's the most important thing, is understanding where they're at and what their expectations are. And I talk about this a little tomorrow, actually, in my other talk. What on their journey, how does it feel as they go through the product? But yeah, it kind of comes in different phases, because there's kind of the research phase where you get all of that upfront information, and then as you explore more, you realize there are other scenarios that might apply that you hadn't considered. And so it's a progress through the work.
Thank you. Let's give them a hand. We're going to run the next three up there.